You are now watching the amazing Mets pregame show with your hosts, Rob and CP.
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!
What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Amazing Mets pregame show right here on both of our channels and, of course, on X. Hopefully, everybody is enjoying their football Sunday, but we also got some Mets baseball on this Sunday as well. The New York Mets are 14 games over 500 and officially in the third wildcard spot all by them lonesome self and only a half a game behind the Arizona Diamondbacks. The New York Mets are going for their 10th straight win and a sweep of the Cincinnati Reds. And I know the guy next to me is very excited. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Doesn't football season just hit so much harder when the New York Mets are in a playoff race right now? Wow, we get the best of both worlds. Your Cowboys just re-signed Dak Prescott to a 4-year deal. I don't know if you're happy or sad about that, but that's neither here nor there. We got a 10-game winning streak or a 9-game winning streak on the line, looking to make it 10. This is awesome, an awesome time to be a Mets fan. We're not only going to be here with you all for the pregame, we will obviously be watching football. That's why we designated this pregame to be at 12 o'clock so we can catch the opening kickoffs, but we will be with you on the postgame and a roundtable tonight as well. So it's all things Mets talk. Hopefully we see you all later in these streams talking about 10 straight wins. But yeah, this is awesome stuff. We will talk about, obviously, the DJ Stewart call-up. Tyler McGill also, in terms of some news, is available out of the bullpen today. Carlos Mendoza has mentioned. So we'll kind of talk about that. But really exciting time to be a Mets fan, and appreciate everyone in the chat. Thank you for the support. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and keep subscribing to the channel. Thank you.
Yes, obviously it is an NFL Sunday, but we are definitely making this a baseball Mets Sunday with all the shows today, and we're going to have you covered throughout the day, pre, post, and of course, what Chris said, the roundtable as well. Now, we're probably going to have all four of us, but if not, we'll try to fill somebody's spot that might not make it tonight, but we're definitely going to have a roundtable tonight, looking like it's going to be at 7:30, so make sure you keep on the lookout for that stream on multiple channels of all of our channels. So, all right. 20 games to go. Mets are in a playoff spot. Mets got to continue to play well. Exactly. You got to take a deep breath, Mets fans, because there is a lot of work to do. We do got one of our best pitchers on the mound in Luis Severino. I think he's going to come up huge tonight for the New York Mets, in my opinion. And listen, we got kind of a Sunday lineup. We'll get into the lineup. We'll get more into the pitching matchup. But I want to get started by the call-up. DJ Stewart. We all had that little guy in our mind saying it's going to be DJ Stewart. It's going to be DJ Stewart. And we didn't want to believe it, right? We all didn't want to believe it. Yesterday with John, myself, and Chris on the post game, we felt like it was going to be DJ Stewart because of the left-handed matchup situation. But now we have about 437 outfielders on the team right now. And look, it doesn't make much sense to me. It doesn't make much sense to Chris, but we're going to talk about it, right? Well, Chris, DJ Stewart, I know you're excited.
I mean, it just feels like, and I hate to start this stream off, and that's kind of why we're knocking it out and nipping it in the bud in terms of just like talking about this early on, because we do have a game to talk about today, and it's unfortunate that we're sitting here talking about our displeasure of DJ Stewart getting called up. I understand why he got called up, and it was kind of foreshadowed yesterday by him not being in the lineup, and Acuna and Ritter, etc. were. But for me, it just feels like a move that is having a lefty for the sake of having a lefty. Like, obviously, this is a right-handed dominant lineup and a right-handed dominant bench, but it just feels like a move that feels just like forced to me. And I understand that DJ Stewart is a guy that's not going to see much playing time, but we talked about the importance in terms of the middle infield and that kind of platoon or that kind of merry-go-round that would happen between, obviously, Vientos, Iglesias, and whoever that third middle infielder is going to be. Obviously, they have Pablo Reyes as well, but for me, it could have been more of an impactful move. I don't see why the Mets need 6 outfielders in this case. Maybe they'll move Jesse Winker to like a platoon DH in terms of deploying that lefty-righty. You all know me. I don't like the matchups, but it is what it is. I'm going to say that I'm disappointed in it. I'm going to say and give everybody in this organization the benefit of the doubt, right? Like I have been. I released a video talking about why David Stearns is a baseball genius. So I'm going to trust in that process. For me, it's just kind of like a blah kind of move, like Estonia was saying in the chat. It just feels like a meh move. You know what I mean? And it's just at this point, I would have liked to see somebody more impactful coming up. Somebody where we don't know what they have to offer, so they could blow us away or knock our socks off type of thing. With DJ Stewart, we know what we're going to get with him, right? He has a capable bat. He strikes out and he flies out way too much for our liking, but he has a capable bat in terms of putting I guess hits together. He'll get you a 1-for-4. He'll get you a 1-for-3. He'll play okay defense. He's not the best defender in the world in the outfield. But like I said, you know what you're going to get with DJ Stewart. For me, especially given the age of Jose Iglesias, I understand he's going to be playing more often than not. But for me, in those spot starts that Jose Iglesias inevitably needs to take in terms of having a day off, that's where I would have brought up a guy that's capable of playing the middle infield. So that's just my perspective. It's unfortunate per se, but it's not really because it's not going to impact the Mets in terms of if they win or lose down the stretch here. This is just kind of like a meh move to me, and we'll move on with it. That's it.
Yeah, I do wonder if DJ Stewart's going to be here for the remainder of the 20 games, or is it just based on the teams we're facing, is it the matchup situation? They want more lefties available on the roster going forward for a little while. I don't know, because if DJ Stewart, is terrible, I mean, are you just going to keep him there because he's a left-handed bat when there's other options there that we talked about that are not left-handed, but they're obviously better. But again, I don't know. Look, Ritter made so much more sense than even Acuna at this point, knowing that we figured out that he's very versatile throughout the entire infield. I don't really know. Like, it's frustrating. I'm not going to call it frustrating because that's not fair to David Stearns and the New York Mets right now because they're riding high right now. But I don't know. We could have just had another impactful player on this roster that is at least similar in overall performance that Jeff McNeil was giving us with defense, versatility on the defensive side, and what he was doing with his bat since the All-Star break. So maybe DJ Stewart will surprise us and he'll come up with a big hit at some point. But I don't think any of us are expecting it. He does walk, I guess. He strikes out a lot, but he also does walk. So unfortunately for all of us, we get to see, at least he's not in the lineup today because that would have pissed me off even more. But we do have a Sunday lineup somewhat today. 1 through 6 is exactly what we've seen. We got Marte, Torrens, and Bader, 7, 8, 9. So what do you think about this lineup today? I know a lot of people want Torrens to be in a lineup more often than not. And Bader with a big home run yesterday. Again, how can you hate a lineup at any point anymore? Every single day. I mean, for years, we've complained about Mets lineups, especially Sunday lineups. You can't complain anymore, no matter, who it is anymore, even though basically your 1 through 6 is basically what you're going to get probably the rest of the season.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing about this lineup that I said about the Mets lineup yesterday and the day before that. It's beautiful. I have no problems or issues with how this lineup is oriented or the personnel that's in this lineup. I trust any lineup from this point forward with the personnel that the Mets have to go out there and score some runs, or at least enough runs to win a ball game. And that's for the most part what they've been doing over the last couple of weeks, especially the last 9 games. So 100%. It's dynamic, really. I mean, Aaron, my guy Aaron, who's the co-host of the Blue Shirts Banner podcast with me. I'm not sure if he's in the chat right now, but he mentioned to me in my mentions today about the lineup, saying this is probably the best lineup he has seen from the Mets in quite some time. And I think this is a better lineup than the 2022 New York Mets as well. I think it's a much better lineup than the 2022 New York Mets. I really do. So I love this personnel. Jose Iglesias is nothing but I have nothing but good things to say about Jose Iglesias. I saw, right, he's been doing absolutely professional things this whole entire season and his whole entire career so far. But not only that double play yesterday, the at bat that he took where the pitcher decided to brush him back. I'm not sure if that was still Junis in the game. It was Junis because that was the first Mets hit of the game to that right field line. He brushed him back. Had he looked at a pitch at his head, he hit the ground in terms of getting out of the way. The very next pitch, and that is a very methodical sequence by the pitcher. And that's something that's lost art in today's game. So credit to Junis in terms of brushing hitters back and then trying to paint the outside corner, maybe getting them a little timid and kind of stealing a strike that way. But Jose Iglesias got right back in that box, and guess what he did? He flung his bat out there, took it to the opposite way, and got the Mets' first hit. And from there, obviously, they didn't score that inning, I don't believe. But the next inning, that's when things got rolling, especially when they pulled Junis. So, like I said, I love this lineup. Full of professional hitters. Pete Alonso yesterday with runners in scoring position gets the base knock up the middle. Love to see that as well. I believe that was yesterday, right? That's not game one. That was yesterday. Right? I mean, we're kind of was it yesterday?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm not even sure. Like everything just
I think it was yesterday. I'm kind of getting my days confused here. This Red Series is a little bit weird for me. But anyways, it doesn't matter.
Now, so everything seems the same.
Right. Him getting a hit with runners in scoring position doesn't matter if it's game one or game two. It doesn't really matter. I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. I love it. And yeah, there's really no holes in this lineup. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't see many holes in this lineup. And I know you've continuously said that. And I 100% back that up. No holes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the best thing about this. Probably the best thing about the team is that a pitcher has to go through this lineup every single day. And I'm sorry, I don't care if you're a, Julian Aguilar or Garrett Cole or any ace that's on a team. Like you look at this lineup, you're like, God damn it. And especially like 6 through 9, these are guys that put the bat on the ball as well. So these ain't big strikeout guys. Beta is somewhat of a strikeout guy, but these guys put the bat on the ball, and then that's not even before you got to get through 1 through 5. So it's a tough go for these pitchers, and I love it. And this is why I'm hoping this team finds a way into the playoffs so we can really see what this lineup can do against elite pitching on a daily basis. And that's something that, they played well against good teams, against good pitchers. They've done it most of the season since basically the end of May. So we'll see what they're going to do. Again, we're going for the sweep today. Luis Severino on the mound. And listen, this is the big game for Luis Severino. Look, it's not against a very good team. This is a guy that, a couple of starts ago, looked like he was on the verge of kind of, reaching that limit of pitches and innings, and it seems like he was fatigued. And he found somewhat of a new life. I'm hoping he just has a really good performance today. And what I expect from Severino is to not just give us a chance to win. I expect to win with him on the mound. And listen, you sweep 3 series in a row, you get the 10 in a row, you sweep your homestand, and then you head to Toronto, who, by the way, thank you, Toronto, for beating the Braves yesterday. But we are right in the mix of seeing what Severino can do for the rest of the season. And I feel like he's going to pitch well today. It's not a really good lineup. I think he's going to use his fastball a lot today. And I know the changeup worked really well for Quintana in his 6 2/3, but I think Severino is going to really work that fastball letter high today and maybe even use it more as a sinker today instead of that high elevated fastball. But what do you think with Luis Severino today? What do you expect from him? And what do you think he's going to put out there today against the Reds?
A lot of 4-seamers, like you said. I'm thoroughly expecting that. Whether he's sitting 96 to 98 doesn't matter. I think that the Mets, if you've looked at the Mets starting pitchers from Sean Manaea to Jose Quintana to whoever that's pitching, even David Peterson, they've been utilizing that fastball up at the letters to change the eye level. And I say this almost every stream because the Mets pitchers continue to work this into their arsenal. But I fully expect that out of Luis Severino, but also his slider or slash sweeper, whatever you want to call it. They're one and the same in terms of the actual movement, but just a little bit different break on it. But yeah, the slider is going to be very important for Luis Severino. It's been one of his better pitches this season. I fully expect him to establish that. And I'm very confident in Luis Severino. We talked about our confidence level in Sevy last night. he's shown us a lot. There's been ups and downs with him, obviously, but he's shown us a lot. So go in there, dominate a lineup that can hurt you if you make mistakes, but really doesn't have that much firepower to consistently put up runs and overwhelm you. So I think Luis Severino, probably about 6 innings today. Let the Mets bullpen do their business. Go and just finish this series off, right? We're not satisfied. There's no reason to be satisfied at all if you win the first 2 against a bad team. There's no reason to not sweep. And are we just going to gloss over the fact that the Mets had a beautiful day outside of their own game yesterday? The Braves lose, the Padres lose, the Diamondbacks lose, right? The New York Mets are not only in sole possession of third place in the wild card, they are half a game out of the second wild card spot and only, I believe, two games
games.
back from the Padres for the first wild card spot. So this is anybody's game. And I know that I believe the MLB account yesterday, or was it MLB? I don't know. It was one of the MLB accounts on X yesterday said, which playoff team do you have advancing, or which wild card team do you have advancing? It was the Mets or the Braves, and everyone's like, hold on, both of these teams can make it, right? Because it's not only between the Mets and Braves anymore. These teams are right there in the thick of things with the Diamondbacks and the Padres. So this is an exciting time. Like I said, leapfrog everybody. We'll talk about the division in terms of when we play the Phillies down the stretch, but wow, like I said, an amazing, exciting time to be a Mets fan. This is awesome.
The interesting thing about what you said with the Padres, it is 2 games officially, but it's 1 game in the loss column, and the Mets do have a game in hand on the Padres as well. So that's a good sign as well. It's 3 in the win and 1 in the loss column. So technically it's 2, but it's only really 1 in the loss column because we have that extra game in hand against the Padres. And again, remember, we talked about this numerous times. We got the tiebreaker against the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and possibly against the Braves, but that's a little bit down the road, 2 weeks away when we face the Braves. But we got the tiebreakers. And that's why when people are like, oh, the Diamondbacks are running away, the Padres are running away, it seemed like that. But all you had to do was get close to them, because if you tie with any of them teams, you're getting that tiebreaker. You're getting that spot in the wild card. So that's why it was so important to beat those teams. And even if it didn't really look like we were going to catch them, it's still in our back pocket if we need it in that tiebreaker. And that's what the Mets put themselves in. Again, multiple avenues to make the playoffs, right? We can talk about the division. The Phillies did lose yesterday. It's 7 games now out of the division. You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility. 20 games to go, 7 to play. Right, we all remember the Mets 17 with 7 up with 17 to go. Right, and the Phillies, I think they blew a big lead. I don't remember when, but it might have been a while ago. But they blew a big lead when they were winning the division at one point. I believe it was maybe 7-8 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So, look, the Phillies aren't invincible. Like, we know they're not that invincible. Like, they're a good, really good team, right? They held on to this division the whole year, but that doesn't mean the Mets can't catch them. Again, I know we're counting our chickens before we hatch. I know it's a long road ahead to get to that division, but we faced the Phillies after Toronto. What if we gain a game or 2? What if we're only 5 games going into a 3-game series against Philly? I mean, then people are really going to start talking about it. I mean, we're gonna start. Hey, Philly, you hear us? You hear those footsteps? We're gonna start talking about that, because listen, you see all of a sudden how Brave fans and Yankee fans are starting to pop up into the chat a little bit, because they get nervous now, right? When it was like, oh, ho hum, the New York Mets, LOL, they weren't in the chat. They weren't really doing anything. But now that the Mets are starting to play better, they're starting to, they're starting to see that crack in the armor a little bit, and then, let's try to get into the Met fans' heads and stuff like that. Trust me, we get in our own heads enough. You don't have to worry about us. But I tell you right now, watch how fast on your stream, my stream, other streams, Mets content creator streams, Philly fans are going to start to show up again, because they will, especially when we're playing them. So I really can't wait. After these next couple of games, hopefully the Mets do well, and we start to face the Phillies and see where we are at that point. But again, they got a lot of work to do, and it always starts with today's game, Chris. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And it was actually funny, what we discussed yesterday is that the parity of the game, right? In terms of not having a single team probably going to be reaching 100 wins this year. And that's exactly what the Braves and the Blue Jays broadcast, because I turned that game on after the Mets game was done. That's exactly what they were talking about as well. It could be anybody's year, right? No one team is going to run away with it, especially if you get into the playoffs. Like, anything can happen. So, like I said, it's very important to keep things into perspective. It's important to not get complacent. It's important to not look ahead if you're a Mets fan. It's kind of hard not to, with the way things are going right now. But as we always say, one game at a time. And like you just said right now, it starts with today. And there's no better way to end our weekend than having a complete sweep heading into Monday. And like I said, Tyler McGill available out of the bullpen. Not really sure how enthusiastic I would be to see him out of the bullpen, especially if it's a close game, but we'll see what happens there. Paul Blackburn is going to be making the start tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. So that's very good news, right? In terms of getting Tyler McGill out of the rotation. He was long tossing a bit in the outfield today in warmups I saw on one of the Mets accounts, whether it's SNY or the actual Mets account. But yeah, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. And there's no reason not to be confident right now. You have a beautiful lineup top to bottom. Hopefully you get guys like Brandon Nimmo and Pete Alonso going a little bit. I know it's Luis Torrens today, and I know that Francisco Alvarez gets the day off. And by the way, I did see yesterday exactly what you were talking about, Francisco Alvarez in the defense. He did have a passed ball. It was quote unquote a wild pitch, but it bounced right in front of him, and he tried to backhand it, and it ended up costing the Mets a base there with the runner moving up. But other than that, like I said, these guys are playing inspired baseball. You can see it on a day-to-day basis. They are playing inspired baseball. They're playing for each other. And it's a beautiful thing to watch right now if you're a Mets fan. Absolutely.
Yeah, and with Blackburn, I wonder, obviously coming back from injury, I know it's not like, the ball did hit him, but I wonder if they're gonna give him like a pitch limit or an innings limit for tomorrow's game. So I do wonder how Mendoza is gonna work the bullpen today. Hopefully Severino goes deeper into the ball game because then it kind of solves Mendoza's problem. But I think he would probably want to keep at least one. I don't know if he's going to use Buto today. It might be an option where Jose Buto might be saved for tomorrow, just in case Blackburn can't go deep into a game, or only do 4 or 5 innings. You would want Buto to pitch, give you multiple innings. So it's very curious to see how Mendoza is going to work the bullpen today. Look, I think he's really hoping for Severino give you 7 solid innings, and then it kind of solves your problem for the most part. So that's something to watch out for today's game, considering the fact that Mendoza probably, I don't think Blackburn's going to go deep into the game tomorrow. Even if he's pitching well, I think they're trying, they don't want to hurt him, right? You don't want to hurt him. He is going to be our 5th starter. He is probably a candidate to be in the bullpen if the Mets make the playoffs. So that's going to be an interesting option as well. But it's going to be really something to look at today's game with the bullpen, how Mendoza's going to work it. Obviously, if Severino, has a rough, I'm not saying blow up during the game, but saying if he doesn't have his best stuff and it can only go 5 innings because it's pitch counts up there, what are they going to do? Are they going to go to the Ottavinos of the world? Are they going to go to the Young of the world? Other guys to stay away from your multiple inning guys, so you can save them for tomorrow with Blackburn on the road in Toronto. It's going to be very interesting to look at.
To that point, I'm going to stick to my word in terms of what I've always said going back many years as being a Mets fan, is that especially when you're in a playoff contention, you play for today's game. You win today's game at all costs. I understand that Paul Blackburn may not pitch deep into the game. He might be on an innings limit, but tomorrow comes when tomorrow comes, and you worry about today's game first. So I don't know if Edwin Diaz is going to be available, but everybody else should be on the table. I get where you're coming from in terms of Jose Buto being saved to be that potential long reliever tomorrow, in case Paul Blackburn doesn't go that far. I could see 5 innings pitched max in his first start back from the IL for Paul Blackburn. But this bullpen is really deep that you can navigate those waters. You still have Brazaban today. You still have Maton today. You still have Stanek today. All these guys you can utilize, and you can burn one of the lefties in either Alex Young or Danny Young as well. So yeah, 100%. I agree with what you're saying, 100%. But as a manager in this environment right now, we've seen it a lot of times where the Mets play for tomorrow, and guess what? They let the game slip away at hand that day of. And I don't want that to be the case. And I think that there could be very powerful lessons learned from seasons prior in terms of doing that. So I really hope that it's all hands on deck today, because right now the Mets need the sweep.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen people in the chat saying you can wear a Cowboy jersey,
Let me just put this very clear in very clear terms. As I said in my chat, you will never ever see me wearing a Cowboy jersey. Rob is my guy, and I know he's a Cowboys fan, but you'll never see me wearing a Cowboys jersey unless I lose some sort of bet and I keep my word on it. And then maybe I'll wear a Cowboy jersey. But for right now, 10 toes deep in the Giants, baby. Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, if I ever see anybody that I know that's a really diehard fan of a team, and then we're the one of the biggest rivals of your own team, I'm gonna question your loyalty to your team. Like I don't care. I would never wear a Yankees jersey hat. I would never wear Braves, Phillies. I just wouldn't. It's I no. Like I said, if it's a bet, then you do your bet and you man up. But other than that, you're not doing it out of your own free will. Like that's just insane. But yeah, sorry we went a little bit on the football scavenger hunt a little bit. But hey, it is football Sunday, first of the year, so why the hell not? But when it comes to the bullpen, like you were talking about, like you said today, there's multiple options today, right? You play to win today's game. I think we all agree with that. Obviously, managers, coaches have to worry about the next day as long as worry about today's game. But yeah, 100% agree. You got to worry about today's game. And look, there's multiple guys. You like you said, you could use Static, you could use Maton, you could use Brazaban. You could use one of the youngs. So they have other options to protect tomorrow's game tomorrow. Tomorrow's game, protect tomorrow's game for tomorrow with the available guys they would have, and leaving a couple of guys out.
How about a co-start tomorrow of Blackburn and McGill? How about that?
Oh, that's not a
That
bad
could
idea.
be an option.
That could work. That could work. I would be okay with that. Like, I would understand why Mendoza would do that. People would bitch about it. You know that 100%, especially if it don't work out. Yeah, I would do that.
I mean, if he's going to be in the bullpen, you might as well just utilize him, especially if you're going to have a starter that isn't going to go far and you have an innings limit already on him.
Yeah, and and it's on McGill's day as well because he filled in for Blackburn. So it works out. Yeah, that probably makes the most sense considering the fact that McGill is lined up to pitch anyway because he filled in for Blackburn. So that's a good call. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would do that. I would be okay with that. Right, and look, if McGill doesn't pitch well, you take him out and you bring in your next reliever. That's that would be a good idea. I like that idea a little bit more. Again, if McGill's gonna remain in this bullpen as like a multiple inning long man, why not give him a shot? He might actually be good. I'd be surprised, but maybe he will be good, and we could talk about another guy that we can add to the bullpen going forward. Excuse me, damn. Let's see what else we need to talk about. Chris, got anything else to talk about right now? So we can
No, I mean, this is really self-explanatory, right? I mean, the Mets are 14 games over 500. This has been an incredible turnaround. You have here a guy that Julian Aguilar, you don't know exactly what you're going to get from him. I guess a little bit of a scouting report in terms of his Savant page, because I took the time and the liberty to look up his Savant page. He's a young kid, 23 years old. He's only got just about 16 and I believe 2/3 innings pitched under his belt this season so far. So again, look for the Reds to potentially utilize maybe a spot starter. I know we were kind of like throwing that idea around, maybe doing like a 2.0 of the first game where they threw Fernando Cruz for 1 inning and then put a reliever in. But I think that this could be like a 1 or 2 inning basis for Julian Aguilar. If you all don't know anything about him, I don't really either. He's got a 4-pitch arsenal, heavy sinker. He has a sinking fastball. He does not have a 4-seam fastball, so anything he throws is not going to be straight as the 4-seam fastballs are. He utilizes his slider, which is his best pitch to right-handed bats. So, Pete Alonso, I'm looking at you when I say this. Please know this. You should be doing this scouting report yourself. Sliders predominantly to righties, and then changeups and what else? He throws one other off-speed pitch I'm forgetting now. It's a changeup and something else to lefties. So he splits the off-speeds that he uses by righty or lefty, and you can see that clearly on a Savant page. So like I said, please, Pete Alonso, if you happen to have 2 strikes on you, know that the slider is coming and it's probably not going to be in the zone, and be wary of that. But other than that, I don't really have anything else in terms of the game plan. We all know the game plan: score early and often, get Luis Severino some breathing room. And in terms of Luis Severino, dominate fastball, slider, whatever else you want to use. Maybe stay away from the changeup. I don't know. I would say focus on the slider / sweeper. That's been your best pitch. That's been your bread and butter, and get the necessary outs. Jose Quintana kept the line moving in terms of the gems that these starters have been throwing, right? We were worried about Jose Quintana yesterday, and he said, "Shut up, I got this," right? 6 2/3 innings pitched, gets the win, was very efficient, beautiful pitch distribution. Keep the line moving, Luis Severino. That's what we need.
Yeah, and every time we question Quintana, it seems like he always steps up, which is kind of odd. We would like him to do that more often, but every time we question him and be like, "Oh God, I just don't know what we're gonna get from him," he proves us wrong once again. And you know what? When the Mets are playing the way they're playing and they're winning the way they're winning, there's not a lot to complain about. Like we can repeat ourselves over and over again, and talk about yesterday's game, talk about the pitching matchup in the lineup. After that, there's not much to complain about. Like yesterday was a well played game defensively. The offense did come alive when they needed to. Look, the Reds didn't score. It was very simple. The Bader home run would have been the game winner. So it's amazing because, like, look, we all would like to do an hour stream, hour and a half stream, but when there's not much complaining going around and they're playing the way they're playing, it's very simple. Continue it, right? You should win today. There should be no reason why you lose today unless Severino has a disaster, which I don't think most people or almost every Mets fan think it's not going to happen. And this offense has proven over the last, I would say, 2-3 weeks that they can score runs. They can score a tremendous amount of runs. If I'm not mistaken, they're scoring just over 5 runs per ball game. I think it's like closer to 6 runs per ball game. They're winning those games. You score over 5 runs, there's a pretty good chance you're going to win the ball game, especially the way our pitchers have been pitching. I think they're averaging around 3.3 runs per game, which is below league average. So what's the goal? Score over four runs per ball game, and there's a pretty good chance you're going to win the ball game because of the pitching. The bullpen has finally kind of settled down. Everybody, I wouldn't say know their roles, but we're confident with almost every guy that comes out of that bullpen, minus probably Ottavino and Brazaban, but they haven't been in the biggest spots, specifically Ottavino. Brazaban, I think the Mets are going to try to put him in more bigger spots because I think they got him believing that he can be in those roles. So it's going to be very interesting when it comes to Severino today. How deep can he go? I put up a poll. How many innings do you think Severino is going to go? 6, 7, 8, or complete game? I can't see the poll at the moment, but I'm curious to think that people are probably going to go around 7 innings. I think that's the leader right now. When it comes to the poll, I'm going to go 6 innings today. I think Mendoza is still a little weary of the innings with Severino. And again, there's nobody better that knows Severino than Mendoza. So whatever his decision is, and I'm going to let Met fans know this because I know some people will complain if they take him out kind of early or maybe when there's an opportunity to get out of an inning. Mendoza knows Severino better than anybody. I'm going to trust Mendoza to make that call. And I think Severino's going to go 6 innings today, and he's going to leave with a lead. That's my final thoughts. And Chris, any final thoughts before we go? And I guess you want to talk a minute or two about the football games?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're this pregame seemed like a breeze. Like you said, there's really not much to overanalyze here in terms of what we should be looking out for today, right? Obviously, the Mets presumably don't know much about Julian Aguilar. Like I said, I gave you all the brief scouting report on that. Luis Severino continue to do what he's been doing in terms of those successful starts. Like I said, with the pitch distribution, especially the sweeper, the lineup, take care of business. Be wary of that slider from Aguilar, and that's it. Shout out to the chat, guys. Like really. Appreciate you all being here, especially early on a football Sunday. Couple of good comments here, a couple of bold predictions. Hopefully, let's just knock on wood here that nothing goes wrong. So let's tone it down a little bit. But I like the predictions here. So shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm seeing D-Max saying big day for Nimmo and Marte. Boy, if the Mets lineup could get Nimmo going, that'd be awesome, especially him and Pete Alonso together. Let's see here. Steven is predicting 8 innings pitched. You're predicting 6. I think I'll predict 6 too. 7 is that median sweet spot, and Steven's going 8 on the higher side. So that's awesome. But yeah, guys, it's a fun chat. Appreciate you all. Ricardo, Wacky. Let's see who else is in here. Just want to shout everybody out. Darren, Oliver, Carlos. If I miss your name, please do not be salty about that. But yeah, we appreciate the Victor, everybody. Thank you all so much. Aaron, Stoney, I see you all in the chat as well. Cope, Carlos, Ricardo. Thank you all so much. The football games, like I know that we're here for Mets baseball talk, but it's exciting week 1. You all let me know. I'll probably throw up a poll on my channel in the community tab about if you all are Giants fans out there, if you want to hear me talk about some Giants football. We did a podcast with Aaron, who's in the chat as well, last year about Giants football. It did okay, but obviously with a lot of new subscribers here, definitely could sort of talk Giants football on the channel as well, if that's something you all be interested in, but primarily Mets going forward. Obviously, I'm cautiously optimistic. I know Ricardo is asking me about the win totals, Cope asking me how we're feeling about the Giants. I'm just cautiously optimistic, especially with the Vikings today. But at the end of the day, I realize the limitations that the Giants offense still has, even though they now have Malik Neighbors. But yeah, that's what I'll say. I'm not expecting too much overall from the Giants this season. So the Mets gotta save me there until Nick's season starts up.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, obviously I'm a Cowboys fan. I think Neighbors is going to be a beast. You do have Daniel Jones throwing to him, so I don't know how well that's going to do. But I think Neighbors is going to make Jones look a little bit better than he actually is, because he is a beast, and he can you can throw a 10-yard pass and he'll take it to the house. So that's going to be very interesting. But yeah, with Dak Prescott's contract, I don't know how I feel about that. He's a regular season warrior, and then in the playoffs he comes up this small. So I expect him to have a really good season, because that's what Dak Prescott does. I don't think he's going to do anything in the playoffs unless he surprises everybody. Listen, you get enough opportunities, at some point you got to do something. So, and listen, it is a tough division. The Redskins are probably going to be better with Jaden Daniels as their quarterback. The Giants looking like probably the worst team in the division. But then again, we said that a couple of years ago and they made the playoffs. So you never know.
I'll be at week 2, by the way. I'll be at Commanders Giants week 2 in at FedEx. So I'll be there.
I wish I know the Guardians. Wow, the Washington football team are I know FedEx Field is a terrible field. I know my cousin goes there all the time. But
it's really bad.
At least you can get to watch your Giants. I think when my cousin was at the game, like a pipe leaked over them and shit. It was terrible. But at least you get to see your Giants.
I'm fearful of that. Fearful of that.
But hopefully, it'll be a good game. It's going to be a fun game. The Washington fans are very much rejuvenated by their draft pick and their hopes of a really, really good quarterback. But listen, football season is always great, regardless if your team is bad or not. You want your team to be good, but it's still football. Everybody watches it. You can watch 100 games. Obviously I'm not in New York anymore, so I had to purchase the Sunday ticket for my dad and myself so I can watch the Cowboys. I can watch the Jets, even though the Cowboys are usually on all the time, no matter where you are. But my dad's a Jet fan, so I just wanted to make sure he gets to watch his Jets going forward. So with that said, guys, let's go for 10 in a row. Let's get the 15 games over, and let's just creep a little bit further up that wild card standings. Put a little bit of room between us and, the Braves coming up and possibly the Diamondbacks. So with that said, guys, thank you for tuning in to the Amazing Mets pregame show. Mets are going for 10 in a row with Luis Severino on the mound. We will see you for the post game. Whatever time the game ends, we'll have you covered for the post game. And later tonight, probably 7:30 will be the roundtable that will pop up in about an hour or so. So make sure you hit that like button early, guys. The more likes we get on all the streams, the more people see it at the top of their list when you put on the YouTube app. So make sure you hit that like button early. With that said, let's go Mets. 10 in a row coming. Sweep coming at Citi Field. Let's end the homestand on a great note, guys. See you later today for post-game. Chris, good luck with your Giants, and we'll see you later, guys. Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets.